The only thing that Terminator needed salvation from was Christian Bale, and all because of his infamous rant, right? Wrong. Actually, you're kind of right. But there's much more to his god complex on set that terminated exciting plans for the franchise, and I spent far too long looking into this so you didn't have to.
Oh, good for you! And how was it?
Terminator Salvation had so much potential, so why was it more useless than Christian Bale teaching a meditation class? The stars were aligned. Bale was just coming off of The Dark Knight, one of the biggest movies of the 2000s, and Terminator Salvation's director, with a name like a McDonald's mascot, McG, had made 2 Charlie's Angels movies. Okay, not the best comparison, but the Terminator franchise was popular. Its leading man was one of the most sought-after actors on the planet, and the director could hold a camera. With the decision to set the movie deep into the future, Terminator Salvation promised something totally new from the series. The original script for the film was more offbeat and unpredictable than the finished movie. It was also reported to be darker and gorier, akin to the original Terminators. A blade through the eye, anyone? But an enforced PG-13 rating and Bale signing on to play Connor led the creators to totally change what they'd planned. McG originally approached Bale to play a Terminator, but the star was much more interested in playing the messianic savior of the human race, who originally only had 3 minutes of screen time in the original script. In Terminator Salvation's original story, John Connor was like Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now, a largely unseen figure, more of a myth than a real person. Instead, the sequel's hero was Marcus Wright, a character who's still in the movie, but instead ends up fighting for screen time as well as the future of mankind with Bale's John Connor. Played by Sam Worthington, Bale even asked to be consulted about who would play Wright opposite him, and his control freak tendencies weren't going to end there. After the script was rewritten to Bale's liking, funnily enough helped by writer of The Dark Knight Jonathan Nolan, his John Connor comes off as lacking more humour and character than a pre-programmed Terminator. McG has said that the script became a moving target that caused a filmmaking nightmare, and that he worked day and night with Bale talking about how to work Connor into the movie. And when I say talking, I presume shouting.
No! No!
It's no wonder then that with all these rushed changes, to try and accommodate Bale's every whim, when the movie was released, in the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, it sucked. This crucial script change set the movie up with the worst of both worlds for the sequel. John Connor didn't have enough screen time to become an engaging character on his own merits, no matter how loud Bale screamed.
We are dead! We are all dead!
Meanwhile, Worthington's take on Terminator Salvation didn't blur the lines between man and machine in a way Bale might have been able to pull off, meaning that the finale's twist felt out of place and pointless. Even though Marcus, not knowing he was an android, should have been a decent plot turn M. Night Shyamalan would have been proud of, the revelation falls flat, since viewers had little reason to see Marcus as the movie's hero, like he should have been all along. Instead, Marcus was just one of 2 leads in the film, something that would have been solved if Christian Bale took the part he was offered in the first place, rather than trying to play Jesus. And all this was just before production had started. Things weren't going to get any better once the cameras started rolling. In fact, they were about to get worse. But should we take a minute before the next section?
Let's not take a minute. Let's go again!
Okay, fair enough, up to you. When does method acting go too far? Bale had already established a reputation for crazy transformations in Hollywood, with roles such as the narcissistic Patrick Bateman in American Psycho and the hauntingly emaciated Trevor Resnick in The Machinist. The latter was when he took the supermodel diet a little too far. So fast forward to July 2008, on set in New Mexico, and this commitment to roles was about to backfire spectacularly. A few months later, in February 2009, before Terminator Salvation was released, an audio recording of Christian Bale surfaced on the internet. The recording, clearly made without the actor knowing, contained audio of an angry on-set tirade that rivals the likes of your dad after you ruined Christmas dinner. Or maybe that's just me. For those of you too young to remember or living under a rock in 2009, in the rant, Bale verbally assaulted cinematographer Shane Hurlburt. And verbally assaulted is a little generous.
Do you want me to go trash your lights? Do you want me to trash them?
What heinous crime did Hurlburt commit to get this kind of abuse? He walked onto set to check a light during the filming of a scene. Apparently, this was the second time he had done this. God forbid. And Bale lost his mind as well as his reputation, while he increased his cursing vocabulary in an accent that wasn't his own and threatened to smash Hurlburt's lighting equipment. Not only that, but Bale actually threatened to walk off the movie if Hurlburt committed his offence one more time. Shame he didn't, because it probably would have done the film a favour. Hulbert was apologetic on the recording, while Bale came across as an American-sounding psycho.
I want you off the set, you prick!
The incident earned the actor a large backlash, while others, presumably anger enthusiasts, defended his complaint. The same has happened with another similarly recorded rant on set not that long ago with another, let's say, passionate actor. Let's see how Bale looks against them in the battle of the on-set meltdowns. During the production of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning in 2020, Tom Cruise was recorded delivering a very direct telling off to crew members who were not paying attention to 2020 mask-wearing safety protocols. He was rightly trying to enforce the rules for the most important reason during the time. No, not to save lives, to keep movie production going. In his enthusiastic speech,
I'm on the phone with every studio at night!
Cruise highlighted the importance of following the rules to keep the set operating, pointing out the industry's responsibility to set an example and maintain jobs.
And they're looking at us and using us to make their movies!
As well as abusing people who earn annually what Cruise makes in an hour.
We are creating thousands of jobs,
Then again, this particular rant came across a little better than Bale's, as at least Cruise was trying to keep people safe, whereas the Terminator Salvation leading man's attitude seemed about as safe as being locked in a room with a T-1000 with a kill me sign stuck to your back. Bale, without much choice, publicly apologised for the incident, blamed the pressure of filming for his outburst, and said he made up with Hulbert that day. It's unknown if they kissed to seal the deal, but that's unlikely. After the incident happened, the two continued to work together for the remainder of the production, although it's telling the two men haven't worked on the same project since. I don't blame Hulbert, I'd rather work with a gorilla during a banana shortage.
I'm gonna kick your ass. You know, shut up for a second.
Okay, calm down, Christian. It wasn't just the cinematographer that got it in the neck from Bale. McG felt his criticism, but just not in such a public way. When he was approached for the film, the actor had the same concerns about the director that the Terminator fanbase had about him taking over the franchise. Bale said to him directly, "Nothing in your filmography suggests that you have what it takes to do this movie properly. Not even Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, apparently." McG had to convince Bale to give him a chance, so he could evolve as a director. That's not a great start to a working relationship. That's like electing a leader no one has any confidence in. Alright, clearly the movie started a trend. As of 2014, Bale said the film didn't work, implying that the whole thing was the director's fault, adding that he would never work with him again, although he wished him well, which is a nice touch after publicly humiliating someone. 4 years later, he blamed script problems for the film's inability to reinvigorate the franchise, but not himself for forcing a complete rewrite. Bale said that his former colleague, Jonathan Nolan, was asked to rewrite the script and had come up with, in his words, a wonderful story. But due to the writer's strike, he was called away to a prior commitment and couldn't finish the script, which is why he's uncredited on the movie. Of course, whoever he threw under the bus, it's clear that Bale didn't do this movie any favours, especially by calling into question professionalism as he did during his famous meltdown. The thing about this rant is that it's arguably lived longer in people's memories than the movie Bale was working on, which is a shame because there were exciting plans for the Terminator franchise before his meddling doomed Terminator Salvation before it even made it to screen. So what alternative path could the Terminator franchise have taken if it wasn't for Bale? When the movie opened, it came in at the box office at number 2 in the US, behind Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian, which for a movie with a $200 million budget and one of the biggest stars on the planet featuring in one of the biggest franchises, isn't a great look. It did a lot better worldwide and would make $370 million overall. But this doesn't tell the full story. For comparison, the same summer's Transformers Rise of the Fallen cost $200 million and grossed over $830 million. Maybe they should have just got Michael Bay to direct, just in case you thought the modern Terminators didn't have enough explosions. While $370 million may not sound like the end of the world, aka Judgment Day, Salvation was a big box office failure when compared to the rest of the series. The 1984 original made less money on paper, but it had a far smaller budget, didn't have past success behind it, and earned great reviews. Only Terminator Dark Fate did worse commercially than Salvation, and only 2015's very misguided reboot, Terminator Genisys, got a lower critical consensus than the movie we're looking at today. Because of all this, Salvation forced the Terminator franchise to take a major break and rethink its strategy. Obviously, we now know that didn't make any difference and they still messed it up. But sometimes good things don't come to those who wait. Before this temporary termination of the franchise, McGee had plenty of ideas for where to take it next. This included Bale's John Connor travelling back in time to London in 2011 to not prepare for the Olympics but warn the world of the machine invasion, Skynet, not ChatGPT, and with Skynet also having figured out a way to send non-infiltrator units through time. The director has spoken about the plot that John's task would be bringing together the world's militaries so that humanity might stand a chance against Skynet's onslaught. Basically, World War II, but with robots. Skynet would have brought more than one naked entity into the past to stop Connor. So Bale's hero would likely have faced down several different Terminator models in the urban setting, which would have been a difficult prospect considering he couldn't defeat one cinematographer interfering with lights.
Seriously, man, you and me, we're done professionally.
Ah, come on, Christian, it was just a joke. The other exciting prospect was the potential return of an old friend. You know, that friend who has more than a worrying interest in blades. Yes, plans didn't include an appearance from original Terminator Schwarzenegger, apart from a CGI double featuring his likeness, which didn't go so brilliantly in Genesis. But the potential sequel would have seen his old arch-nemesis, played by Robert Patrick, crop up again, but in a different form. He instead would have returned to play a human scientist studying cell replication. Okay, it might not be the T-1000 in all its glory, but it's an interesting idea that would have allowed the talented actor to bring a human side to the famously not human thermometer liquid form. Something that would have made his transformation into the 1991 stare-off champion, the T-1000, all the more terrifying. Maybe, who knows, it might have been rubbish, but it doesn't matter, Christian Bale ruined all of it anyway.